One of the things we have found and that other schools have found with the BYOD program is that students need to learn how to do online research. When the focus was on physical library books, the resources were limited and they were all curated. That is, they were vetted and approved and were basically reliable. But now, with online research, students have basically unlimited resources, and those resources are often of dubious reliability. Anyone at all can put info on Wikipedia, and any crackpot can set up a nice-looking web page. So we need to start teaching students how to do research in the digital age. In the next few minutes, I want to give some resources and ideas along these lines. Let's take an example. You're teaching about the Constitution, and you want students to write an essay about the 14th Amendment, which guaranteed citizenship rights to all people born in the United States. Now, there was some controversy about it, so you want them to address some aspect of that controversy on their essay. So what do? Typically, students go to Google and enter 14th Amendment. And here's what comes up. Notice that Wikipedia is the top result. And 99 times out of 100, the students will just go to that top listing. It might or might not have correct info, but it probably won't address some of the controversy. Actually, neither will the other sites listed here. They all basically just give the text of the amendment or a brief history of it. But instead of going to google.com, what if they went to scholar.google.com? Now what they get is a listing of scholarly articles on the 14th Amendment, including the number of times that article has been cited in other scholarly literature, which is an important indication of reliability. To be sure, some of these articles are going to be above the level of the students, but some will help them see the issues involved in the 14th Amendment. So just this one key for searching, going to scholar.google.com, will help our students immensely. Let's look at another way to refine searches on Google. Suppose I'm thinking about purchasing a Dell laptop, and I want to read reviews of Dell laptops. Now, I could just go here to Google, and I can type in reviews Dell laptops. And I can just search for reviews of Dell laptops. But some of these, as you look down through here, some of these might be for models that are no longer made. If I just want current models, I can narrow my search here. If I click on Search Tools, I can go down here anytime. Instead of looking at all results from any time, I can click that and I can find results just from the last month or the last year. If I'm looking for the most current reviews of the most current Dell laptops, if I go to past month, now you see I can get reviews, like here's one from June 24th, 2016. Okay, here's one from June 30th. These reviews are going to be very current. Here's one from 5 days ago down here. So that's going to be a lot more relevant. Students can do the same thing for information like economic data. They could find reports just issued in the last week, for example. So there are ways to make Google searches more profitable for the students, and we need to help them see those ways. Now let's look at some other research tools. I highly encourage you to check out the work of Jerry Blumengarten. Don't worry about spelling the name, I'm going to give you a link. Jerry is an educator who has compiled tens of thousands of helpful online resources for educators. You can go to cybraryman.com and start browsing. Now, admittedly, his website is not the prettiest one around. but he includes a wealth of resources, and you can find a lot of things that will help you. I want to look at just two today. Here's one, his resources for searching. Now you can browse through here. There is a ton of information, effective search engines, and strategies. Let's look at just one. It says down here, Research Beyond Google, 119 authoritative, invisible, and comprehensive resources. If you click there, this explains about deep websites, sites that are probably not indexed by Google, but which have a lot of helpful information. You can go down through here, find out about deep web search engines, about art searches, books online. Here are business search engines and databases, a number of other things. Okay, so this would be helpful, just different search engines. So check out these resources on Cybrariman and point your students to them. Show them that here are places that they can find some helpful information that they won't find just through Google. Another thing that we need to teach students is to consider what type of site they are visiting. And one easy way to do this is just to look at the top level domain names. That's what comes after the dot at the end of a website. First is the .edu. .edu sites are used for United States colleges and universities. Information on these sites is generally going to be reliable and scholarly, often published by professors. .org sites are basically nonprofit groups and other non-commercial organizations like clubs, sports teams, religious groups, health organizations. Now the information they find here is sometimes going to be more slanted, and it will be advocating particular points of view more than the .edu sites. But it might be helpful still. It'll probably take some more validation. .com sites is the broadest category of websites. Many of these are commercial sites, although it's not always the case. This category is so broad that information here really needs to be examined carefully. Don't just take it to be the truth. It may very well be promoting some particular product or business in the guise of providing information. But .com sites can be set up by just about anybody. So there's nothing to validate them other than the fact that somebody has taken the time to put it up on the web. There are also .gov sites. These are official U.S. government sites. Okay, now we can make comments about whether our government is reliable or not, but the point is, if the student is looking for government-oriented data, like jobs statistics or things like that, this is probably going to be a reliable source. Same thing for .mil, M-I-L, military sites. Again, likely to be reliable information about things like military strength. We should tell our students about this and remind them of it when we ask them to do research. Ask them some questions about it. Where did you get that information? What makes you think what you found there is reliable? Help your students to think through this. You see, our kids tend to fall into this trap. Or you can take them to this site, HMOorg. You can send them here. This is a site on dihydrogen monoxide, the Dihydrogen Monoxide Research Division. You can ask them to write a brief paper on it. Notice down here where it speaks about the controversy surrounding dihydrogen monoxide. It's never been more widely debated. And this is providing an unbiased data clearinghouse and a forum for public discussion. Now you notice, if you were to look at this website and just look at it, it looks like it might be reliable. Okay, here are some special reports on DHMO and cancer, the MSDS for DHMO, material safety data sheet. And so these are some things your students, you can send them here and ask them to find out about dihydrogen monoxide. Now, how many of your students might begin to question this information? After all, what is dihydrogen monoxide? If you're not into chemistry or you've forgotten your high school chemistry, you may have forgotten what dihydrogen monoxide really is. Now, the point is, this site was set up precisely for the purpose of showing students about outlandish facts and see if they're just going to swallow those facts wholesale. That they can read this and it's going to look genuine. So, this is a website that was set up for that purpose. The point is, we need to teach our students to question the validity of what they find on the web. Remember again, this is different from when most of us were in school. Here's where we found information, in a library filled with books. And these books went through some type of editing process before they were published. Now obviously, really scholarly books went through a stringent peer review process. But even popular level books had some editor who would check for blatant errors or lies. Someone could probably get a book published that said Lincoln was killed by a conspiracy of Confederate soldiers. But they probably could not have gotten a book published that said Lincoln was killed by the Chinese emperor. So when we went to the library when we were in school, we could count on whatever we found being basically reliable. That's not the case now. Any crackpot can put anything at all on the internet and make it look believable. Our students need to learn how to separate the wheat from the chaff. So here is another of Jerry Blumengarten's pages. This is one on evaluating websites. On the left side, he has over here several hoax sites. Here's one about explorers. Here's one about the Pacific Northwest tree octopus. That's another site. You could send your students there and ask them if this is a good bit of information. Here's the DHMO website. Here are other hoax sites down here. The main body here has a lot of resources you can use to teach students how to evaluate websites. And I encourage you, go to this website, look up some of the resources, and see what you can present to your students. Now, one other thing that students should learn: Google and other search engines often save their search terms and use them for commercial purposes. This is called data mining. When Martha and I were planning a trip to London a couple of years back, I searched online for things like discount London passes. Almost immediately, I began seeing ads for various London businesses showing up on the side of my Google and other web pages that I went to. Here's a site that might be useful for older students to illustrate this. Don'tTrack.us. Now, this is something that you could send students to just to show them about tracking and how different websites use what they search for to help track them. You can scroll down through there. You can see those things. Now, you may not want to use this. You have to be careful with this particular website because the example they give is searching for herpes. And so you're not going to use this with most of your classes. but you get the point here, that then you get ads based on just something that you search. But it does get the point across. If your students want to search anonymously, they can go to duckduckgo.com. DuckDuckGo promotes the fact that they do not save your searches, they do not analyze your search terms, they don't sell that information to others. These searches are hidden from any data mining. So for anonymous searches, especially if your students are looking for information that might be a little bit controversial, which they might do in the course of a class, they might go to DuckDuckGo to do a search. Okay, I know what's on your mind now. When am I going to do this? I've already got a full curriculum. What am I going to drop so I can include teaching my students how to do research? Well, that's an important problem. We all have limited time. So what can we do? Much of this can be done in the context of regular teaching. Let's say you give the students an assignment. You want them to write a one-page report on a major battle in the War of Independence. When you give them the assignment, show them about going to scholar.google.com. Don't try to teach them everything about searching, just that one thing. Tell them that they need to go to that website to find their information. Then, the next time you give them an assignment, show them something else. Maybe tell them that all their sources must be from .edu sites. Just throw in things in the course of your assignments that direct them to better research activity. Of course, in some classes, like freshman English, you might spend more time systematically teaching this. But you can usually find ways to point the students to better research. Now, this has just been a quick introduction, but it may give you some ideas as you guide your students into more profitable research. Here are those websites again, along with my email address. Feel free to email me with any questions or other resources you might find helpful. Thank you for watching.